Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, today is December the 21st, the shortest day of the year, and very, very bleak. It's been the road to December the 21st is always bleak and gray and dismal and
It's a
depressing.
slow motion marathon.
Exactly. And in theory, everything is uphill from now on, but you don't really feel it. You don't really start to notice anything in terms of uphill until probably early March when you
Yeah.
suddenly realize, hey, the days are getting longer. But up
Well,
until
I always really like to remind people, think of New York City geographically. What longitude is another major city? New York and what?
Mhm.
Rome.
Right.
That shows you how much further north
Right.
Europe is. And I'm even further north than that.
It's very, very exactly. It's very, very, very noticeable. I mean, New York was the winters there were much more tolerable than they are here in Budapest. In Budapest, they're very, very dismal. They are
When when
very,
uh, when I when I lived there one winter, when it snowed, it was
yeah.
snow.
You don't get much these days. You don't get much snow, but you just get darkness day after day of sunlessness and lightlessness. So it's you forget what the sun is even like. But anyway, on a more cheerful note, Bibi Netanyahu is coming to Washington, D.C. I think it's scheduled for the 29th, so it's about, a week from tomorrow. And the speculation is that he will try to persuade President Trump to join him in an attack on Iran. So there was a story in on NBC that appeared, um, I think, the other day, and here it says that Netanyahu plans to brief Trump on possible new Iran strikes. So we'd kind of forgotten about that. That oh well, those exciting events from last June, and because Trump had been touting this great successes that he had accomplished with those strikes, but apparently, who'd have thunk Bibi doesn't really think that that's the end of the matter and wants to resume these attacks on Iran. So here it says Israeli officials believe Iran is expanding its ballistic missile program. They are preparing to make the case during an upcoming meeting with Trump that he poses a new threat.
Well,
Now,
so
yeah, go on.
so so, so the Iran is not going to have a bomb in 3 weeks. Okay.
Right, it's not going to have a bomb in 3 weeks, but it's very interesting because Trump has never made that a cardinal issue. The only issue he ever raised was that, oh, it can't have nuclear weapons, but he's never raised the issue that, oh, well, it can't have ballistic missiles either. So it'd be interesting whether is Trump now going to change his stance. Um, and so Israeli officials have grown increasingly concerned that Iran is expanding production of its ballistic missile program, which was damaged by Israeli military strikes, and are preparing to brief President Trump about options for attacking it again. And here we have Israeli officials are also concerned that Iran is reconstituting nuclear enrichment sites the US bombed in June. But they added officials view Iran's efforts to rebuild facilities where they produce the ballistic missiles and to repair its crippled air defense systems as more immediate concerns. And then Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu expected to meet Mar-a-Lago, and that's where he's expected to make this case. And then they said part of his argument, that's Bibi's argument, is expected to be that Iran's actions present perils not only to Israel but also to the broader region, including U.S. interests. The Israeli leader is expected to present Trump with options. It's very, very nice. Always options for the U.S. to join or assist in any new military operations. And asked Thursday about a December the 29th meeting with Netanyahu, Trump told reporters, "We haven't set it up formally, but he'd like to see me." And so that's now. Well, the interesting thing about that, of course, we don't know whether he'll succeed, but the is that this is going to cause a real split among. I mean, the
It's
attacking.
already there. It's already there.
Yeah, exactly. It's already there, but this is really going to cause deep anger and anguish among his core supporters. And we saw the attitudes and the splits at the Turning Point USA AmFest conference this weekend, which really degenerated into a ferocious brawl between the Zionists on the one hand, led I think by Ben Shapiro, and then the kind of America Firsters on the other hand, which were led by Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon. The fight was not started by Carlson or Bannon. It was Ben Shapiro, an ardent, clearly Israel firster, pretending to be a conservative MAGA America firster, but basically, he has only one concern, namely Israel. And so here he launched this, and this is him um, talking about Bannon and Tucker Carlson.
Steve Bannon, for example, accuses his foreign policy opponents of loyalty to a foreign country. He's not actually making an argument based in evidence. He's simply maligning people that he disagrees with, which is indeed par for the course from a man who was once a PR flack for Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
Check the record.
Now, this is very interesting because what then happened during the Q&A, Ben Shapiro, was asked by an attendee about the USS Liberty, the 1967 attack by Israel on a US spy ship, which has never really been adequately explained. But nonetheless, this is an America First that says, well, we have this obligation to supposedly to Israel. Why did it attack and kill a number of American servicemen on that spy ship in June 1967?
And before you play it, George, I'd like to point out is that George and I have been aware of this our entire adult lives, but it was forbidden to talk about in public.
Right.
Okay. And if you did mention, oh, it was a mistake and Israel apologized, real quick, change the
Yes.
subject. Okay. For me, I look at this young man here. What are you eyeballing it? What, 18 to 21?
Something like that. Yeah. Very young. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone of his generation and tender age asking about the USS Liberty. This is a sea change,
Yeah.
everyone. Absolute sea change.
Right.
And this is not the first time I've seen someone of this age in a venue like this ask this question. Okay, so this is we're in a totally different media environment and consciousness environment. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that absolutely. And I think it's very striking that why is he raising this subject?
Yeah.
Well, because yeah, because why are we furthering Israel's agenda? The audio is very poor. I didn't realize that. I thought it was the audio seemed fine, but it's very poor. Uh, you can't. Can you hear anything?
Okay, can you paraphrase his question?
Yeah, he's talking about the Israeli attack in 1967, and he's saying led to dozens of American servicemen's deaths. And if you could hear, the audience is cheering when he's asked this question.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at
Can you hear this?
Yeah.
an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today. That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack.
Now,
It just it's rubbish. It just not true. It's not the historical record.
well, it isn't.
And that's not the lived memory of the survivors.
No, it isn't. And of course, it makes no sense to say that it's a mistake. The attack went on for hours, several hours. So it wasn't just, oh, they lobbed a missile and then they realized their mistake. This attack went on for hours. How can you mistake an American spy ship? This wasn't this wasn't a combat ship. This was a spy ship. How can you mistake it for an Egyptian ship? Are you serious? The Egyptians have a naval vessel of that quality and caliber that the United States had. It's ridiculous. I mean, and they had a flag, flying an American flag. There was no way that you could make that mistake. This isn't, oh, well, it was just a mistake. There's just no way. And the fact that it went on for several hours.
And the Israelis, with their intelligence and surveillance, didn't hear the SOS.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
USS Liberty. I suspect the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
So notice he's already wants to somehow impugn the motives of the questioner. Oh, that somehow, you're obviously trying to suggest that Israel wants to harm America. Why would you want to suggest Israel wants to harm America? What's behind this? Are you anti-Semitic by any chance?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
If the truth then the Israeli government must be held accountable.
If the truth matters, the Israeli government must be held accountable.
Look at it. Well, Ben's not taking it well. Oh, yep. There you go. There you go.
The U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done.
So now he's talking about the naval investigations, but the naval investigations were a joke. They were
suppressed.
rushed.
And suppressed.
Yeah.
And the survivors on the USS Liberty were threatened.
Right.
They were muzzled. Do not talk about this. Okay.
Right.
They were intimidated.
That's right. That's right.
Naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was.
So they mistook it for an Egyptian ship.
Yeah, but see,
Egypt didn't have a navy. Egypt had no navy.
That was the story they were telling in '67, and there was no one could ask questions back then. Okay, it's been completely revealed. The survivors have gone on camera. There's I don't know how many hours of explanation of this. I mean, this is common knowledge on YouTube. It's not like Ben Shapiro has secret knowledge. No, he's just telling the BS explanation for it, which hasn't changed.
That's right. That's right.
Attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes. And then, as soon, you can hear this, by the way, on the tapes of the Israeli pilots talking to each other. As soon as they realize that it's an American ship, they call off the attack. They speed a ship to try and help the USS Liberty. There have been multiple unfortunate friendly fire incidents between Allied forces, including, for example, in the Gulf War, where U.S. forces were responsible for killing about 9 British troops during the Gulf War. It's an unfortunate.
It was not friendly fire.
Of course, it's not friendly fire. There was no way you could make that mistake. Yeah, it's true. There are friendly fire, but that wasn't it.
I think we should question any foreign country's relationship with our government.
That's fair.
I think we should question any foreign government's relationship with our government.
Again, that I'm fine questioning any country's relationship with the United States. But again, I'm wondering what
But
Notice that he's essentially trying to impugn his motives.
look at the young kid.
Yep,
He's not cowed. Look at him.
that's right. That's it.
You know what he's saying? He's thinking, yeah, Ben, we've heard this over and over again from people like you.
Exactly.
And look at the girl with the flag there.
Yep.
It's almost like here we go again. See, this is what's happened. And maybe in the broad scheme of things, George, this is the big, most significant change. Look, there isn't awareness. You said there people were cheering.
Yep.
I mean, 5 years ago, if someone had asked a question at Turning Point USA about this, most people say, "What? What's he
That's right.
talking about?
That's
Never
right.
heard of this before." The audience knows about
That's
this.
right. Yep. That's right. Yeah. And so long, and this is from '67, so it's a long time ago, and they're bringing this up. Why are they bringing it up? Yeah, they're bringing it up because they want to know why exactly is the United States going to war on behalf of another country, particularly in another country that doesn't seem particularly well disposed towards us.
is the number one issue in assessing the relationship between Israel and the United States today.
Well, many problems persist to this day, but it's interesting that you say 6 decades.
So it says interesting that you say 6 decades ago. And it says there are many people in this audience who were alive at that time, which is true. I mean, there are young people, but there are also, people who are not so young
And
there.
we're alive.
Exactly, where we remember it.
Sure. Well, no, it's just not particularly relevant to assessing the relationship between the United States and Israel.
It says it's not particularly relevant to assessing the relationship with the United
Yes, it
States.
is
I think it is.
absolutely relevant at the core of it.
That's right. Um, but you're right. It's interesting. I mean, just the body language of this kid. He's got a mocking look on his face. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard all this
because
before.
because this is a part of a broader awakening with a lot of younger people is that why are we in the situation that we're in?
Right,
Okay?
right,
Because all of the pieties and platitudes that they've been told their entire life, it's all a pack of lies, and
right,
they're beginning to realize it.
right,
And Ben Shapiro, you know, 4 years ago, they would have people would have been wanting to kiss his ring.
right.
Now he's despised.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Um,
Today, in the same way that in 1967, there are a wide variety of countries with which the United States had different relations. Okay, it's clear you're not going to actually answer the question, so I'm happy.
so then he just moves on without having addressed this issue, and you can see
Yeah,
how this
they're losing, they're
yeah,
losing, and they're losing, and they're losing. They're not going to be able to reset this thing. They're done.
that's
They're
right.
done.
That's right. But Shapiro, I didn't want to do a prolonged excerpt from his speech. He attacked Tucker Carlson, but he also attacked Megyn Kelly. That somehow, because Megyn Kelly had refused to attack Candace Owens. That's what Megyn Kelly had basically not said, I endorse what Candace Owens is saying. She just doesn't want to attack Candace
Well,
Owens.
but see, that is so telling because up until like 15 minutes ago, Tucker was well disposed towards Israel. Okay,
Right,
we've heard it. I like Israel. I've been there many. He's basically. Let's be fair, everyone. He treated it as a third rail, and he really didn't want to get too much involved in it. Then his hand was forced. Okay, Megyn Kelly is a liberal Zionist,
Right.
okay?
Right.
And now she's being pulled into
That's right.
this,
That's right.
okay? And why? Because America isn't second. America is first,
Right.
okay?
That's right. That's right.
And so, Ben is just digging his own demise
Anyway,
with
but
this.
anyway, so here then, this is Ben Shapiro. So now it's the turn of, I think it's Bannon now. Yeah. Bannon's response to him.
This train, the Israel First train, was Ben Shapiro. And those are the darkest days we had. In 21 and 22, you guys were there. He's consistently been against Trump. And now that President Trump doesn't back the Greater Israel project, what is Greater Israel? It's not about Israel itself. It's about an expansionist Israel, an imperial Israel that Netanyahu and that crowd have thought up. And the Israel First crowd is Ben Shapiro, Tel Aviv, Mark Levin, and many others that want to put that ahead of America's interests. Charlie Kirk fought that. You know where Charlie?
So, now Bannon is, now he really is a Zionist. He's a big fan of Israel. And it's got, again, it's interesting what he's doing here. I mean, he's trying to differentiate himself, not very convincingly, but nonetheless, it's interesting. He's doing it from the Greater Israel crowd. I mean, I think he's part of that, but nonetheless, he thinks it's important to say, yeah, I support Israel, but I'm not part of the Greater Israel
Yeah,
First
I,
crowd.
I'm I'm sorry, it doesn't really fly.
No, I don't think so either. But I
I
think
mean,
it's interesting that he's putting that forward.
yeah, I think I can speak for you. We would have expected a little bit more nuance from Steve Bannon because he's pretty good at that. Um, he's got the Epstein stuff whirling around him too. So he's going where he can see Ben. He is genetically incapable of reading the room.
Right.
Okay. Bannon is very capable of reading the room. Okay. So he's giving them what they want to hear.
No, that's right. But
And then plus everybody when this is how you decipher some of this stuff. Blaming Netanyahu is that's a straw man. It's Netanyahu's fault. No, 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 no. It's Zionism. That's what it is.
no, I think that's right, and I think that and this is a particular theme of the kind of the Israel lobby, which is they get to determine what is and what is not permissible criticism of Israel. So they get to determine. Chuck Schumer, I think, wrote a book recently. Like what is permissible. So what is permissible? Well, you can criticize Netanyahu. And that's about it. Nothing else. I mean, you're like, yeah, okay, you don't like Netanyahu. Okay. And that's it. You are not to say anything more, because if you say anything more, then we're going to call you anti-Semitic. And we're going to try and destroy your life and your reputation for being anti-Semitic. So and it's not just Schumer, but all of this sort of that Israel lobby, all of those Bill Ackman and the rest of them, they get to decide what is and what is not permissible. You can say this, you cannot say that. And basically say, who the hell are you to tell me what I am and I'm not permitted to say? So yeah, we get to decide. Otherwise, we'll call you a Nazi. We'll call you a Hitler lover.
Yeah, but 4 years ago, that had some currency. And now it doesn't really matter. People are just saying, yeah, well, see, that's where you go. That when you have no arguments, that's where you go. And
Right,
I don't care.
right,
I don't care anymore.
right,
Okay. And Steve Bannon is too big to fail. Tucker's too big to fail. Candace is too big to fail. Megyn Kelly may be in that
right,
category. I don't know.
right,
No, the fear has dissipated. People are not afraid anymore.
right, right,
And as a matter of fact, it's going to encourage people to go there in an in-your-face manner.
right,
Because if it's taboo, come on, remember when we were all young?
right,
Okay, it's a natural reaction.
right.
Your name came up on this
So this is
stage
Megyn Kelly.
last night in regards to pretty much all of this.
That's Jack Posobiec, and he's now interviewing Megyn Kelly.
Well, I found it kind of funny that Ben thinks he has the power to decide who gets excommunicated from the conservative movement, which shows a willful blindness about his position in it. It reminded me a little of when the girl who was the head of our middle school chorus told me she was going to take all my friends away from me. Chorus? A head cheerleader, maybe, but like, so I resent the whole thing. I object to the whole thing. Ben and I, he had the nerve to call me a friend right before he called me a despicable coward for not calling out the people he once called out. So he both wants to parent me and be my child. He wants to tell me what I have to do and who I have to say what to.
You see, what Shapiro is doing here, and he was cheered on by Mark Levin because Levin sent out, "Oh, well done, man." He's trying to do the kind of what Bill Buckley did, what, 30, 35 years ago. I mean, he did it before, reading people out of the movement. Saying, "Well, that's it. You are wholly despicable. You are beyond the pale, and therefore the conservative movement will have nothing further to do with you." But of course, you could do it in those days because there were just a few magazines, and if the few magazines are close to you, well, that's it. No one knew of your existence.
And that's why Pat Buchanan started the American
Right,
Conservative.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. But you can't do it now. But that's, I think, what Ben Shapiro is trying to do. So, well, I'm gonna read out people from the movement, and including, of course, Tucker Carlson.
I've been very, very critical of Megyn Kelly, but she is on top of her game right there. I mean, that
Right.
is top of her stuff.
Right.
That's the best of her that you get to see.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
And then when I don't, he and some of his friends want to act like utter victims because I won't do what they say. They need me. I have to be their daddy and step in to protect them. And I am not their daddy. And I resent that he thinks he's in a position to decide who must say what to whom and when. Thank you. So I don't think we are friends anymore. I've been a very good friend to Ben. Nobody knew who the heck Ben Shapiro was when I started putting him on my shows on the Fox News channel.
She did actually, yeah, and I only had the vaguest idea of who he was at the time. He used to be with Breitbart, which was founded in Israel, sort of.
Founded in Israel. Yeah.
Anyway, now
To hear calls for like deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious. But the prediction that, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, to help, I really felt that was important. I still think, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole like Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that.
God, what a communicator.
Yep.
What a communicator.
And this is now he gets to the issue of Israel and the support for Israel. This is later on in the speech.
An affiliation, he doesn't have a nationality. And if someone is telling you otherwise, that is just not true. It is not true. And I would also call your attention to the very obvious prohibitions in the New Testament against killing the innocent. We are not, as Christians, allowed to kill the innocent, period. We are not. And you see elaborate arguments on behalf of doing so or ignoring it. Oh, that always happens in war. Well, you're right. One of the reasons I'm not that into wars. But when it does happen, unavoidably, we have to say that's wrong. We have to say that. We have to acknowledge that was wrong. And I'm sorry for the extent to which I participated in it. Forgive me. because killing people who committed no crime is immoral. It will always be immoral. And people who do it will be punished for it. And nations that endorse it will be punished for it. That's a fact. And you are seeing now a very intense effort to convince you otherwise. Oh, it's fine. They deserved it. Really, do their children deserve it? If a man commits a crime, do we kill his kids? I don't care if it's in Minneapolis or Gaza City. No, we don't. And if we do accidentally, we say, I am so sorry that we murdered someone who did nothing wrong, because it is murder. And to see Christian pastors make excuses for that is one of the most, and that's not a partisan question.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a political question. That is the only question that matters. Do we have the right to murder people? And the resounding answer that Christianity provides us is no.
So that was that was.
I don't think I've ever seen him more animated.
I
I mean,
agree. Yeah.
because he's a natural. He's a natural at this. Okay, it's no wonder he's number one of the top in the top tier. Okay, but I've never seen that kind of passion before.
Right. Right. No.
And we're George and I are kind of experts on Tucker. Okay.
No, absolutely. It was a very good. I mean, he, as you said, he's a great communicator. He knows how to put things very simply, and that's the master of communication. Just put ideas simply. People that the things people understand what you're talking about right away, and does it at an emotional, moral, visceral level. That's a great talent. So this is by way of, going back to the original issue. Well, what happens if, if Bibi and Trump then decide, well, now's the time to hit Iran because of the ballistic missiles?
Well,
Um, yeah,
George, I mean, we have the case of Venezuela. It was all about fentanyl, and now it's about what?
yeah, that's right.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, so okay, I can see, I can see if you're kind of on the periphery of news, most, people, George and I are news junkies. That's why we do this. Okay. Now we could see through the whole nonsense about Iran and the bomb. Okay. But a lot of people don't understand the nuance of that. And they say, well, it just going in and hitting refinery and stuff. Well, I'll give him a pass on this one. But oh, knock, knock, knock. Donald, we have another problem here. What again? Okay. And then you're beginning to realize what's going on here. Okay. And so with that crowd, it's not going to fly with that crowd. Not now.
no, I don't think so. But compounding this is Trump's very strange behavior. So at the White House the other day, it was a kind of
At the Hanukkah
Hanukkah
party.
a Hanukkah party.
That was surreal.
Yeah, and so he called upon uh,
Again.
yeah, those, Miriam Adelson, but he first of all called upon Tel Aviv Levin, and this is very odd. I mean, this is just worth watching. This whole performance. Remember, Tel Aviv Levin. This is the one he's been attacking Tucker Carlson, calling him essentially, Nazi and whatever. He calls him Katalson. None of there's no evidence that he's getting any money from Qatar. He doesn't need any money. I mean,
No.
he has money, so he doesn't need any additional money. Yeah,
Nick Fuentes doesn't need money. Candace Owen doesn't need money because they're too big to fail. Okay.
that's right. But anyway, so here's Trump at the Hanukkah party.
Oh, we have a man. I have to take a little time because every Saturday night used to be Sunday. Then he did so well that they put him on Saturday too. Saturday night. You know who I'm talking about? Because there's only one has Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday is considered Death Valley, but it's not death because of ratings. Nobody gets good ratings. Although actually,
Mark Levine does not get good
He
ratings.
does not get good ratings because he's not a natural for television. I mean, he
He's
just
a
doesn't have an
radio
appealing
man.
personality.
He
Yeah,
doesn't have good ratings.
no. No, that's right.
Did well. The great one, Mark Levin.
Mimicking Sean Hannity there, the great one.
Much more importantly, his much more brilliant wife. Where are you? There you are. Would you come on up here, both of you? Get up here. Get up. I got look. Every Saturday, every Sunday, I'm forced to watch television to listen to this guy talk about how freaking great I am. Because he does like Trump. There's no question about it.
Yeah, yeah. A guy that hated Trump in 2016.
Exactly. He hated Trump.
Yep.
Absolutely hated him.
Get up here.
He was a cruise guy, right?
Yep.
Come on up. What a
That's right.
beautiful couple. Did you get lucky? If you weren't a genius, you wouldn't have a wife like this. Mark, say a couple of words. Come in. And these people do like Israel. Hold on.
Yeah, the Zionist bear hug.
Now,
Yeah.
he's putting his hand on the shoulder. He's the president. He's the president. You're putting your hand on his shoulder. Leave aside, basic. I guess the security questions. I mean, he's the president. I don't think anybody should be touching the president. I I mean, generally you don't put your
Well,
arm around somebody, but you certainly don't do it with the president.
it's very forward, and it's almost for me akin to grabbing someone by the collar.
Right.
For me, it's menacing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you always feel uncomfortable. I would always feel uncomfortable with somebody just suddenly puts his arm around me. Like, hey, what are you doing? What's the plan
Well,
here?
she better be pretty.
That's right.
And he loves Israel too.
Wow, geez.
6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, "This is our first Jewish president."
This is our first Jewish president. Was it?
Everybody, anyone that's interested in this topic, we all have the same question. Why? Why? Why?
Yeah. Um,
Now he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything. Sure, bad things happened on the second one. Namely, the election was rigged. We found out, and you see that happening. But and you are the greatest president. Thank you and God bless you.
But stop it for a sec. Isn't it really interesting? Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but see, Mark Levin is pushing the Israel point, and then Trump goes to the election.
right, because of what
It's really kind of what is the thought process there? Did he do what he had to do? He checked it off the list. Like, Israel's great. Okay, I paid. I've done my penance. What else do you want?
well, I don't know. It's a very because you having Mark Levin there. Why? Why are you having Mark Levin? He's got a show on Fox News. It's not their highest rating show, to say the least. And it's true. You're on Saturday night. That means that's guaranteed low ratings. People are not sitting at home on Saturday night watching Mark Levin.
Nobody wants Saturday night. Okay, nobody.
So so you're throwing in your lot with Mark Levin rather than Tucker Carlson, who has a much bigger platform. It to me, it just seems very, very strange. Other than you want to get in with a certain group of people. I mean, that's the only thing, because not because Levin has some sort of an important platform.
It also there's an interesting. What I think is important here. I don't think Trump cares about Israel
No,
at all.
I don't think so either.
Okay. But you know what he does care about? And we saw it in the Knesset when he gave his speech. Trump likes being around rich people.
Yep, he does.
And he's got his rich donors who may or not be.
That's right, and that brings us very
And
nicely.
what other rich people? The Emirates, the
Right. No,
Qatari, the
but
Saudi,
right.
and
That's right. He like yeah,
as a group, that's what he likes to be around. Okay, he wants his descendants to have a Trump Tower in Riyadh. Okay,
right, right.
and I seriously think that's the way he thinks. Okay,
Right. It is the way things, but the question is still, why are you, given the splits within his own movement on the subject of Israel, here you are throwing your lot in with Mark Levin, not with Bannon. Now, but he probably thinks, oh, I don't need to worry about Bannon. Bannon's always going to come crawling up to me, whatever. But Tucker Carlson is a significant voice and a significant force. You're throwing in your lot with um,
Candace Owen
Levin.
is a contender. I mean, she outdoes Tucker now. Okay,
Right, right.
she's the number one. The I don't know, George. Just maybe again a spitball question. The way Trump is behaving is going to bring people out to vote in November.
Right. No, I think so. But just because you mentioned the rich person, let's take a look at the next rich person.
Okay.
Same party.
Miriam gave my campaign indirectly, 250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you 250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because 250 million is not what it used to be. Okay? Hello, darling.
Yeah, it just goes into the worst stereotypes about Jews.
Right, but the thing is, well, look, I mean, it's never good when the source of your money is from casinos. I mean, it's just not a very,
That's a good point.
that's not, I mean,
Yeah, sin
it's
money.
not a good thing to be making. It's like being, I made all my money on pornography. I mean, it's just not a good thing to be making your money on. Um, but she's very wealthy. And you remember, even when he was at the Knesset, he said, "Oh, I think you're worth 60 billion, aren't you?" And then Trump said in the side, "Oh, she's shaking her head. More, more. She's worth more than 60 billion." So that she is worth a lot of money. And she's an Israeli, so she married Sheldon, but she's an Israeli. I mean, she's completely Israeli, not just an Israeli citizen. She's
Yeah,
completely
her accent is very Israeli.
very, very exactly.
Great. Now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about it, 4 more years. And I said, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. Think about it. Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Now, what she's referring to is Alan Dershowitz has come up with a an argument. I think he's written a book suggesting that the 22nd Amendment that prohibits more than 2 terms is not as ironclad as we had been led to believe. I don't fully understand the argument because I haven't seen the book, but it's something like he can run for office, win an election, and then the college of electors, they may just decide, well, we don't know what to do, and we're not going to certify this election, and then it'll be thrown into Congress, and then Congress can decide to install him as president. That's from my reading of what the summary of his argument. That may not be
Well,
right.
that's
It seems a very flimsy
yeah,
argument.
very novel, very
It's
novel.
it's very novel, but I'm sure a clever legal mind like Dershowitz would think of all sorts of ways in which you can get around it. I mean, I imagine the question is then you can certainly run. They can't stop you from running. I mean, the real issue then is, can you be installed after you've run?
Yeah, but I mean, what condition will MAGA be in?
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, exactly. I
will
mean,
they have moved on? Marjorie Taylor Greene. You know who's getting lost in the shuffle in all this is J.D. Vance. Okay, I don't see fortune on his
I,
horizon. I
well,
don't. I just don't.
I'm not sure. I mean, if the MAGA, I mean, um, Erica Kirk has endorsed JD Vance for 2028, which is very early, but she's already endorsed him because I guess they were her husband and he were close friends, so she's already endorsed him. So I actually think that as far as the nomination goes, I think he probably is. I think
Yeah,
he
we'll see. We'll
has it
see what
locked up.
happens.
I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to say.
I don't even think about the condition of the Republican
Right,
Party at this.
no, no, but I really think that it's almost inconceivable that Rubio or Cruz or
Yeah, but see, I mean, see, but George, I mean,
mount a
it's,
serious challenge to
so
him.
Israel wants Trump to be president. See, it doesn't work.
And no,
That's not.
that doesn't work. But Vance, I think, is MAGA. I think MAGA says he's on our side, and he basically when he came to Israel. And that was at the
Yeah, they
previous
snubbed
turning
him.
point. He was much more nuanced. He says, no,
Oh,
no,
wait, you
we're
see,
not run by Israel. Look at how strongly Trump has rejected Israeli proposals. So at least he sees the problem and knows that, MAGA is not going for the idea of, we do what Israel tells us.
is he going full blown Spiro Agnew?
Vance,
Maybe Vance.
Vance, I think is. I don't think it's so much Spiro Agnew. I think it's that he is the heir apparent, and I
No,
just
but what I'm saying is that he is the he's red meat for MAGA. I mean, so I mean, the
he's
reason why I bring up Spiro Agnew is that he
right.
was the
He was
attack dog.
yeah, exactly. But with Vance, with this turning point USA endorsement so early, I mean puts him in a really strong position. I think Tucker Carlson is also. I mean, he also during that speech, it was quite a long speech, talked about JD Vance and
Okay, I
clearly
didn't hear that part.
indicated also
Okay.
that he's going to endorse JD Vance. So that's pretty much it. That's so MAGA America first. They're rallying around JD Vance. So it's going to be very hard for anyone. There'll be kind of Republican establishment figures, but I don't think they can mount a
Well,
serious.
I mean, okay, having I didn't know that Turning Point had endorsed Vance, and I didn't know that Tucker is looking favorable upon him. So, what kind of convention do we have?
Well, I
I
think
mean, if they like J.D. Vance and they think it's his turn, Trump's doing very poorly in the polls right now.
no, that's
But
right.
Trump is Trump. I would never put money on a marker about what Trump is going to do. I'm not for
No,
sure.
you can't because for all you know, Trump is going to turn against JD Vance. I mean, I don't know, he
Exactly,
suddenly turn on him.
exactly.
Find him that it's JD Vance annoys him. So that all of that is possible. But the thing is that it's very hard to see how, if you think of who are the likely rivals to J.D. Vance, and again, Cruz, Rubio, Ron DeSantis, um, the guy from Missouri,
Yeah, all charismatic as a wet towel.
exactly.
All
That guy, he's a smart guy. I mean, like the guy from Missouri, the name escapes me. But lacks complete any kind of charisma, any personal charm. Tom Cotton. I don't think any of these are going to be
revolting, all
serious.
of them.
Right, exactly.
Revolting.
So I think J.D. Vance for the nomination. I think it's his for the asking.
Yeah, if Trump wants it, he'll turn against
Yeah, no,
anyone.
that's an interesting. That is very interesting. What would happen? Because we've seen how the
How old will he be?
Trump then. Well, I think he will be 82. I think he'll be about the same age as Biden was when he was planning to run for a second term. Um, but you see with Elise Stefanik, her kind of candidacy collapsed. Trump didn't back her, which I'm not sure. I don't know why that happened, but Trump didn't back her. And once Trump failed to back her, I think she realized that she doesn't really have much of a shot at winning. and
What is she
she
doing
quit.
now? What is she doing now?
Well, well, she's now a congresswoman, but she said she's leaving. She's leaving Congress, so at least she's going to serve out her term, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene. But she's leaving, and that whole thing surprises me. I mean, she was a real destined for stardom.
Oh,
I mean, she was part
remember
of the
during the impeachment? Oh, she
yeah,
was.
exactly.
I remember. I remember all the old Republican guys in front of the young woman was in the center, and she
Yeah,
had the microphone. That's
yeah,
exactly what they wanted to show.
yeah,
She's up and coming. She's anointed.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and and she exuded success.
You're right.
People wanted to latch on to her. That was really obvious then.
Yeah, yeah, no question. And also that she'd had a kind of an unusual pedigree. She'd been at Harvard, and she was thought to be a kind of a liberal establishment Republican, and then decided no, she was going to throw in her lot with MAGA, and of course everyone was delighted. Great, we've got a Harvard graduate among us.
And aesthetically very presentable.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, she really rose to stardom when she grilled those presidents. You remember the
Yeah,
university presidents?
that's when a lot of people went,
Well,
whoa.
that's right. But as far as the Republicans were concerned, that only cemented her, her reputation. And then Trump nominated her. He was one of his first nominees after he won to be the U.S. permanent representative at the UN. And that it's not entirely clear why that didn't work out
Well,
because
the reasoning was they wanted to keep the seat.
that was the reason they thought that that essentially she's going
Mike
to let that
Walls, that didn't
seat the
apply to
Democrats
him.
would win the seat.
Then they got that fat guy fine, took Walt's.
That was Walters, but but it was at least the Republicans kept it. They did, but the fear was that the Democrats would take her seat, and so they kept it. But then she decided that she was going to run for governor. It's a long shot, obviously. New York, New York is a Democratic state, so it was always a long shot.
It's a
But I
Democratic machine state.
yes, Democratic machine state, but there hasn't been a Republican now governor for more than 20 years. I think George Pataki was also already more than 20 years ago. So, but if she were to do commendably, I mean, commendably well, even if she were to fail, that would still cement her as a kind
Look,
of
look, look,
a figure in
if
the
she
scene.
could, if she could get 40%,
Right, right,
that would be an
right,
overwhelming. She would lose, but that would be an overwhelming victory for her.
right. Yeah, I don't fully understand it, but clearly there was some sort of a falling out with Trump. That's the only explanation here as to why she's essentially thrown aside her political career. I mean, because now she's leaving
Well, isn't
Congress
this?
and that's it.
It's such an interesting story for you young folks new to politics. This happens a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, you can look you look like wow, the sky is the limit. That's why George and I kind of held our breath when it came to J.D. Vance because he was okay. He started rubbing his elbows with some pretty important people in Silicon Valley. He had a very successful book. I read it. I liked it very much. Netflix picked it up. Okay, made more friends. Then he decided to throw his hat into politics. And you and I remember doing it. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
can he do it? I mean, this is like a trajectory that's very rare. Elise Stefanik had the same kind of trajectory, and she
Right.
burned out.
No, but the interesting with him, well, he had that success, and then he was strongly against Trump in 2016. So in order to win in Ohio, he needed to mend fences. And he did mend fences with Trump, which was quite extraordinary. And so, because he said really mean things about him in 2016, called him a Hitler, fascist, and everything. So it
Well,
took some doing to mend fences.
and one of the reasons why people like with George and myself took a real interest in J.D. Vance because he talked like a real conservative.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and it was convincing that he was a conservative. Because I've never believed that Trump is a conservative. I don't know what he is. Okay. He's in his own category.
Well, he's a kind of yes, he's a populist
Populist. Yeah.
nationalist, a populist nationalist. The problem with Trump right now is that we're not seeing much of this populist nationalism. I mean, if we'll just do a quick, perusal of what Trump is doing, what has any of that got to do with America First? I mean, this is how is this different from a George W. Bush foreign policy? I mean, if Bibi does succeed in persuading him, that's
No,
not a done
it's
deal. We don't
when,
know.
George, sorry, it's when he convinces him.
All right.
Okay.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
I'm that
I'm not
pessimistic.
there yet. But okay, let's let you
Yeah,
take.
yeah, but you bring up a salient point is that coming into the second term, I, you and I were thinking about immigration,
Which is he's at least stuck with that. That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuck with that.
Well, there's been a lot of video of deportations, but how many deportations have there really been? Anyway, but he's ended up being a foreign policy president, and that's what happens in a second term,
Right,
most often.
right, that's right. But the foreign policy. I mean, he's doing things with with Venezuela. It's not at all clear why he's doing it. He's changing the rationale all the time. It's not exactly very popular, because he hasn't made the case even remotely to the public. Certainly not popular among his supporters. So he's pursuing that, and then if he does get in with Netanyahu, then that's that. But also, what happened to the whole China thing? I thought China was going to be the focus of his attention, but he seems to be making nice now with China.
Trump is a China dove.
He's a China dove, exactly. He's getting criticized. There was an editorial in the Washington Post that he's soft on China, that he's basically, hey, our AI chips, you're allowing China to import, our chips. You're going to allow China to overtake us in AI. I mean, so, he's getting criticized, in the Washington Post for rolling over for China. So it's a very odd combination of views. And then we see this kind of performance with Tel Aviv Levin and with Miriam Adelson. It's very, very strange. And then
So,
and where
is it,
this does look like a kind of a return of, to be even George W. Bush really was kept his distance from Israel. I mean, he by no means was completely under the thumb of Israel.
I think George and I are good at describing the problem, what it all means.
Well,
I don't know.
we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see.
We're
But I
gonna have
think what this conference, this turning point conference, does suggest that there are serious, really serious splits,
well, all the more
among his
so.
supporters.
It's again for those that are kind of new to this. Republicans don't treat Republicans this way.
No,
Conservatives don't treat conservatives this way. Okay, yes, Buckley, he had his own reign of terror, and we all survived it. But seeing these personalities go this low in their rhetoric,
right.
I'm not surprised Ben Shapiro. I mean, this is what he is all about. Okay. But Macon Kelly, like I said, I mean, she was on top of her game. I mean, that skill, that is
No, no,
real skill.
yeah, absolutely. No, no, she's also a very good communicator. I mean, that takes doing. That's not easy to do what she did. So that's her, and it's kind of real. It is the subject of Israel. It's the issue of Israel, and then you're not going to be able to just put the toothpaste back in the
Yeah, I
tube.
don't know if you saw it, but on CBS, Barry Weiss's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bailiwick having this Israeli citizen come on, and the CBS News anchor says, what should we do?
Yes,
Tell us what we should do.
yeah.
That doesn't, mainstream America, that doesn't work. That's not the way Americans think about the world, okay?
No.
Why are you asking a foreigner what we should do in our own country about, there's plenty of things to criticize about the United States, but it does stand out in the world, and at least at least rhetorically, upholding the principle of freedom of speech. No other country has the First Amendment like the United States. And when you're asking someone, how should we compromise it, that doesn't go down well.
No,
It
no,
just
no, no,
doesn't.
no, no, no. That absolutely,
And
and
then and then when Barry Weiss interviewed Erica Kirk, why are you talking about Israel?
yeah,
I mean, you just why?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. But that's it. I mean, that was um, how she built her name, how she built her brand, her career, entirely as a spokesman for Israel. And that, at these meetings, these turning point meetings, they bring up APAC and they say, why is this organization that pursues an agenda of a foreign government, why isn't it registered on the FARA? It's not just a question of, oh yeah, they don't get their money from Israel. It doesn't matter. Even if the money comes from domestically, it still represents the interest of a foreign government, and therefore it should be registered under FARA. And there's going to be more and more of this questioning. And you're right about the First Amendment. In Britain, you can crack down on anything. I mean, you can absolutely send people to
And
prison.
they are.
Exactly, and they are, and they even love that word, crackdown. We're going to crack down on this. We're going to crack down on hate speech. Um, you it doesn't really work in America. Americans are, the thing with the First Amendment are really annoying. But at the CBS, this guy was saying, yeah, what can we do? How can we crack down on people's speech? What
Well, I mean, if
so
the well,
you
I mean,
don't find it offensive.
obviously that anchor is working at CBS, meaning he's on the payroll of CBS. So he didn't have the courage to say, well, maybe cracking down on bad speech would be better speech. Okay,
No, no, no,
which
no.
is the right answer.
Right. No, no,
Is the
no,
right answer.
no,
Okay.
it's
So I find it just negative returns. The more do not allow people to question, scold people, and then call them names. When you ask questions, it doesn't work. People just like you don't have a better argument.
right,
You don't have arguments.
right,
And oh, you have money and you have power. See, this is what we're seeing is power punching down. That's a bad look. It just not right. And Ben Shapiro is a victim of what exactly?
right.
Okay. No, he is a gatekeeper. He's a sheepdog. He's trying to keep everybody under control, and I mean, if he had just a smidgen of charisma, I mean, it doesn't. Well, look, Steve Bannon. I give him a hearing, okay, because I don't like his shtick. It doesn't work with me. The hair and the bomber jacket, no, it doesn't work on me. Megyn Kelly, that works. It works. Tucker
I think
Carlson
the
is
problem
doing.
I have with Bannon is that I don't trust him at all.
I don't trust him either.
Yeah, I just think he's always working an angle. Always, what everything he says, I know he's working an angle. There's
And,
something
and,
in
and
it for him.
and he always wants to keep the door cracked to
Yeah,
Trump.
yeah. It's like
Always.
everything is, there's money involved. Even that whole thing of how he became such close friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It's all really, you know, he can't say like, oh, like Alan Dershowitz. Well, I was just his lawyer. Um, you know, this whole thing was kind of odd. His friendship with Epstein, and that he kind of lied about it. I mean, I think he has misled the public about
Well,
how close he and Epstein were.
he certainly hasn't told the truth.
No, 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 exactly. So while he was,
When's that documentary coming out? When is
yeah,
that?
exactly, the documentary that has never seen the light of day. So I just don't. I just think he's always working an angle. There's always some agenda there. Um, but Ben Shapiro, he's like, you knew those sort of people in school. They're swats. They work very hard, but they're very, very unlikable. They're the ones who always get top marks in all their exams and everything, but they're just very, very unlikable. And he has that. And so his attempt, and I think that's what Megyn Kelly was getting at, his attempt to present himself as the leader of the conservative movement, that's going to fall flat. I mean, no one's going
Yeah,
to accept him as leader.
and when he was when the question of the USS Liberty came up and that young man was asking it, um, uh, he was Israel splaining, okay,
Yeah,
and it didn't work. That really I hadn't I heard that this happened, but I didn't see it, so I saw it with you. And that kid, he puffed up his chest,
yeah,
and he was like, this is primordial,
yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, this is like I'm ready.
Right,
I'm ready for a contest here.
yeah,
I'm not afraid of you.
right.
It was very interesting the way he like
Yeah, yeah,
this, like you're going to tell me
right,
your fiction, your fantasy
right.
that's been floating around for 6 decades, and you're going to stick to it? Well, I know better than you do. I know you're lying to me, and the crowd knows it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. No, he was, his bearing was indeed quite striking.
And we know it worked because Ben went to someone else.
Exactly. No, that's right. So, I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And I still can't get over that Oval Office thing. How a president can just allow someone to come in and put his arm around him. I mean, you're the president of the United States. This is just some, I don't know, whatever.
This,
Not a
well,
terribly successful cable news
yeah,
show
exactly.
host. Um,
I'll tell you, everyone, if you're given a choice, Mark Levin or Tucker Carlson, it's not even a
right,
contest.
right.
Okay. And George and I have been following Tucker for a very, very long time. I remember the debate with Jon Stewart, remember?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And those are the days
More than
I
20
didn't
years
like
ago.
Tucker. I didn't like Tucker
No,
in
no,
those.
no, no,
Oh.
no. That's right. No, no.
And and to see Tucker's evolution, I don't know, did you see um the program he made about visiting Qatar? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
And he went to that rehabilitation
Yep.
center. Oh,
That was yeah.
that was hard.
Right.
Okay. And they forced him into this. Okay. I don't think Tucker really wanted to get involved in this. Okay. But he was forced. And I think he even said, I think there was his crew was four guys, went in and they used an iPhone. They didn't want to be, victimization, and they
Right,
don't
right.
want to, they take advantage of that and all that. I mean, I was just dumbstruck by it, just like your jaw just drops down. And then he says, because you still see pictures and he's narrating, and he said, and four men left that room, trying not to cry. Okay, it's very moving. Okay, it's very visceral. George is absolutely right. So easy to understand. There's no ambiguity. You understand instantly
Yep.
what the message is. And that is very few people can do
Very
it.
few, exactly. It's a real talent to be able to express yourself very, very simply. That's a great communicator. That's what people said about Reagan. Why Reagan always said he's a great communicator. They say, oh, people would make fun of his
Oh yeah.
intelligence or whatever, but he knew how to get his message across. He knew how to express himself in very simple, straightforward terms that people understood, and to be able to hold people's attention. Otherwise, people are going to get bored quite quickly. And so he knew how to do that. Tucker Carlson has that. And we just saw it in that speech. Boom. I mean, he was saying, yeah, that hey, it's never all right to kill the innocent. It's never all right to start justifying, coming up with these ridiculous justifications. You're killing innocent people, and we don't do that. That's a powerful message.
Well, and particularly since the crowd he was speaking to, Turning Point USA. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly.
I mean, people in their questions use scripture, and people answering use scripture. Okay, that's the crowd you're dealing with here.
Yeah.
This the this is the only good thing that I've seen through this very tragic events playing out in front of us is that I'm so proud to see so many young people really taking an interest in their fate. Okay, because when I was teaching undergraduates at the University of California, it was hard. It was really hard. And now it looks like there's so many young people wanting to learn more, embracing knowledge, and yes, asking questions.
But this
The-
is,
the- This,
but I
this
think
is,
well, what's interesting is that with conservatives used to just support Israel because that's what you did. I mean, you're a conservative. It goes together. It makes sense. You support Israel because Israel is pro-Western. They're European. They're close allies of the United States. And so on. So no one really thought among conservatives, no one gave it a second thought. Of course, you support Israel because who's on the other side? Well, you got these terrible people, these Arabs, Muslims. They just, I don't know, they're not like us. And then behind that are all the people, with the headdresses and so on. And well, they're obviously people who we're not going to support. And besides, the left kind of is, the
yeah,
left tends to be for the
before,
Palestinians, and so that's all changed. They, actually said, hey, you know, maybe we should take another look at this. We really need to re-examine this.
I can remember the Indiana Jones films, the Lost Ark and stuff like that. Take a look at those films and just how racist they are. And that's how we were indoctrinated, okay? That these people are alien, they don't have any, we don't share any values with them, Leon Uris, all of this stuff. This was all intentional. It was rolled out. And George is right. When I was growing up questioning Israel, why would I do that?
Right.
Why
Because
would I
they're
do that?
obviously on our side, and
Yeah.
was the others are obviously on their side. I mean, it's like, and so, and I remember Kissinger, in his memoirs, he would always write about, oh well, well, obviously Israel, well, they're on our side, whereas the other, the Soviet Union, they were pro-Soviet, they were the Soviets, and so that was his that was the extent of his understanding. And of course, Kissinger had huge sway. The media would just lap up his expostulations. Oh, the Soviet Union is making trouble. They're supporting the
Have we had
Arabs.
somebody since then like that?
So what?
Have we had someone in government since then like that?
Um, uh,
I think we're gonna have to think long and hard on that one. Again, you had to be around. George is right. I mean, Henry Kissinger, if he was, going into a bookstore and he touched a book, which book is that? What was he reading? Okay. Okay. Oh, he was in a restaurant. Oh, was it a good restaurant? Oh, with a movie star. Oh, I mean, it was Kissinger
yeah.
mania. I mean, that's why I asked George the question.
Right,
Has
exactly. No, no,
anybody
no one
since?
like no, 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 no. I mean, Brzezinski. Kissinger and Brzezinski were always a kind of a double act. Ever since they started in the 1950s. One's patrons was Nelson Rockefeller, the other's patron was David Rockefeller. So they were like two peas in a pod. But Brzezinski never had the kind of charisma.
Swagger,
Or,
swagger.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And people didn't like him all that much. I mean, Kissinger had, he had a sense of humor. He was a charmer, despite all the thick accent. He was very funny, and he knew how to charm people.
And the leaker in chief.
Exactly, and but Brzezinski never really bothered to charm people. I mean, he was just not at all a particularly likable person. But you're right. No one's been like that. But Kissinger would write those memoirs. I mean, they're thick tomes, 3 volume. Those are thick tomes of his years in power, and that was his understanding. To say, yeah, I mean, of course, you know, Israel is with us. It's pro-Western. It's part of our allies. And they're okay, but they're kind of with the Soviets.
Well,
They're
it's
being
also
used
interesting,
by the Soviets.
and it's because of the intentional destruction of the Nixon presidency. And George and I will definitely revisit that in the coming year. It's one of our favorite topics. We have one good guest that, if we could just keep him focused, okay? I know that, but Nixon was very well aware not having too many Jews at the State Department on the Israel file. Okay, he would say, let them do the Arab countries or the Soviet Union, but he basically he wanted wasps on that desk, okay? And if you look at it, it's true,
Yeah,
okay?
no
Because
question.
Nixon was always
Yeah. No,
even in my youth, I don't think we used the term Israel first, but
mm.
they was some they weren't they were biased. There was always the worry of biased. Okay, I don't know when the term Israel first came
No,
about.
that's quite recent. But you're right, and I think that it's a very interesting question whether U.S. policy towards Israel may have been very different had Nixon got more not got bogged down with Watergate, because I think Kissinger did move U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East in a very different direction from the one that I think Nixon wanted.
Mm.
But Nixon was now no longer in control from '73 onwards. He was more
Exactly.
preoccupied with Watergate.
So if you look at, and I mean, in real time, I can remember. Okay, I was very young, but in real time, Nixon was this is the way it's being projected. He's a master of the China relationship, and he was sending Henry to do this. Henry was an errand boy,
Right.
but as Nixon got bogged down in Watergate. Then the famous shuttle diplomacy. I don't think Nixon was running that. I think it
No,
was very.
that was Kissinger, and I think that if you think of the Nixon first term was the Rogers plan, the plan put forward by William Rogers, which was land for peace. That was the Nixon plan, land for peace. Israel needs to withdraw from occupied territory, and in return for Arab recognition for Israel. I mean, that was the Rogers plan, and obviously Nixon was behind this. Kissinger was never on board with that. And that's why I think, gradually, Kissinger got steadily undermined it and made it as if somehow Israel is our great ally, whereas they're on the other side. And that was never Nixon's policy. And when that interview, I think it was with Koppel or something, like, in later years, when Nixon said, I used to have a lot of problems with Israel because they didn't like my policy. We told them we were going to pursue good relations with Israel's neighbors.
And not a trick question, but Nixon took what I think is fair to describe a farewell. I mean, he was in the gutter
Right,
at home.
right,
Okay. I mean, and
right,
it was, the writing was on the wall. It
right.
was more and more so. What did he do? He took a world tour.
Yeah,
What was the stop he made in the Middle East?
yeah. He went to Damascus.
He went to
He went
Damascus.
to Damascus.
Think about
Was in Damascus. He was in Cairo. It was that was and everywhere they were celebrating him. Everyone was celebrating. And why were they celebrating him? Because they thought, hey, he's pursuing an even-handed policy. And that was it. For the first time, we're getting a U.S. president was pursuing an even-handed policy. It didn't materialize that way because Nixon was. I think it was a coup. It was a coup
that.
that overturned him.
Planned demolition. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, he fundamentally thought that the United States should not be, basically Israel's patron in the Middle East, and I think that was his particular view.
Okay.
Kissinger had a very different agenda.
Okay, we've been going on for a while, so I want to end on a positive note here. George and I were talking about in this video the fissures and divisions
Yeah,
and actual rhetorical violence within the Republican Party. As this goes on, in the background, not so noticeable, Richard Nixon is being
yep,
rehabilitated.
I agree.
During all of this, he's being
Yep,
rehabilitated.
I
Okay.
agree. I agree.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I hope I live to see it, but I would not be surprised in the future saying, as the great President Nixon said,
Yeah, yeah. No,
"You
absolutely.
heard it here. You heard it here."
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a rehabilitation and an understanding that this is the way a serious country comports itself.
So well said, George. So well said. A serious
That's right.
country.
Yeah, and that was somehow an era that we need to return to. We have a serious country maintaining good relations with countries that, you may not have that much in common, but you nonetheless want to have good relations because it's good for everyone. And I think that has been lost.
Seriousness interrupted is what happened. All right, everybody, this is our Sunday wrap. Much more ahead, even though people are going to be taking time off, which is okay. It's a holiday season. You can count on us. We're going to be here. All right. We're not, it's,
Tomorrow is the 22nd, so we're still
okay. Tomorrow we'll do the live stream
live stream.
and then we'll do a Christmas Eve. And we're doing Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah, 24th. Yeah, Christmas we'll do
Okay.
a Christmas.
Hey, have you noticed my holiday wear? Okay, my garb here.
Very, very nice. And
Those are reindeer.
oh,
Reindeer.
really? That's very nice. Yeah, I kind of like actually. I like your sweater. I like those kinds of sleeveless sweaters.
You know why I wear them? Because everybody thinks, Russia, oh, in the winter it's so dreary and cold. Well, it can be dreary, but my apartment is warm as can be. And that's what in living in Russia, it's very, very warm inside. So when I wear a long sweater, I'm boiling, boiling. So this is a nice compromise, okay? And I think it looks good too. Thank
I
you,
think
George.
it's good. I've always liked those. I don't often see them, but I've always thought they
Well, I am well known in Moscow to scour the city for well, in Russian it's zheletka. Okay, so the zheletka guy. Okay, do you have it in my size? Oh, come on, I don't need black. I don't need brown. Could you have like red? Okay. Do you have like with flowers, or with stripes? Okay. Now, I explained to him, I want something loud. Okay. Not demure,
Good.
loud. It's very slim pick. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's right. I don't often see it. I used to see them, I think, in my childhood, but ever since then, I haven't really seen it very often. But I've always liked them. I always think that it's a great look. So, well
I
done.
have, I have a huge collection. Huge. All right, everybody. This is The Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. This is Sunday. George and I put some different. George always puts more into this than I do. Okay, and so buddy, I'm about to
Yeah, but
announce.
as soon as you say that, no, no, he
Give me
doesn't do
a
anything.
break, okay? I can't even get two words out here.
No, that's right. So I did all that. It's like what are you praising him for? I did that.
Right, you tell them yourself. Stop
Yeah,
barking.
yeah. Tip jar, tip jar, tip jar. I don't need to say anything more. Just get tip jar. So, anyway, we're going to be back 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow for our joint live stream. And then, please join me for the solo on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, you got to think about Buddy. He's been working very hard. He said, I've been working a year and a day, completely unappreciated. So, if you have anything lying around, any loose change, loose 100 bills, that need attending to, so please into the tip jar. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can work on the technology, and above all, we're gonna have Buddy try and get him through this winters. They're very, very hard for him. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.